Welcome back to the show, everybody. I sat down with the one and only CIO from Bitwise, Matt Hougan. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.78 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 2.7%. 100,000 plus for Bitcoin right now, 3,900 plus for Ethereum. Tether's at the number 3 spot temporarily, 140 billion plus market cap. XRP, $2.37. We're off 2.2 on the 24, up 4.1 on the 7-day. We're at 135 billion plus market cap. We'll keep an eye on it. Look at the range of price here between $2.28 and $2.44. We will keep an eye on this, and we will have something for you to see before we get done. But right now, I want to play this interview. It is a small chat, just a few minutes, but an excellent, excellent conversation with Matt Hougan from Bitwise. And you're going to want every single bit of it because we discuss some factors that make an XRP ETF very different than any other out here on the market. And we're going to get into that right now. But before we do, I want to remind you of Link to private equity investing, and it's made simple. And this is the easiest platform to get onto, sign up, register, and get access in under 3 or 4 minutes to the best private equity in the world. That's what we're talking about here. So don't mess around. Click the link below. And let me tell you, there's been very, very positive news for Ripple since the onset of this launch for real USD, by the way. You should go look at the price of it now. I think you'll be very happy with Mr. Brad Garlinghouse in the direction that he's taking Ripple, the company. And not to mention other incredible opportunities on the platform like Cerebras, Zipline, Uphold, Link to itself, and so many others in automation and artificial intelligence. The list goes on and on. Click the link below and get started today. And now let's get into this interview. And actually, 1 second, before we do that, I do want to tell you a couple pieces of news here really quickly as well. So take a look at this. Texas State Representative Giovanni Capriglione, I think it is, forgive me if I just train wrecked your name, has introduced a bill HB number 1598 to the Texas House of Representatives to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the state. Well, now this makes two. Because remember, Pennsylvania has already worked towards this moment. So this is 2 states now that have officially introduced strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation. This is getting very, very good. Now let's get into the conversation about ETFs, ladies and gentlemen. All right, welcome back. As promised, we're here with the one and only Matt Hougan from Bitwise. Matt, how are you today?
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being back here. Well, look, Bitwise has been a leader in the ETF category. Can you talk about how Bitwise got started and why you chose ETFs for crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. Bitwise started in 2017, so we've seen some ups and some downs and some ups again in this crypto market. You know, today managing well north of $10 billion in client assets. We got started because we thought it was too hard for most investors to access crypto. Right? It's difficult to build a portfolio. It's difficult to have names that you trust. We wanted to take crypto and put it in traditional financial vehicles that have worked for years, not for everybody, but for a certain set of people that makes it easier to access. We started with the first crypto index fund, and we've been working on crypto ETFs and ETPs ever since. It's been a long journey, but we've gotten to the point where we started really rolling them out, and they've found a major audience.
And we know that you have filed an XRP ETF, but we'll get there. But I want to start with, because I know the audience is like, yeah, talk about that. You know.
That's right. That's right.
But I want to go back and talk about a more macro understanding of these ETFs because, you know, I was sharing with you my geeky side. You know, the ETFs were introduced on gold in 2003 in Australia and then here in the U.S. in 2004. They're relatively new products here. And to see ETFs rolling out for cryptocurrencies, I want the new audience or the new investors here to understand exactly what's taking place. We're watching the introduction of a new asset class, the new introduction of new paper products traded on top of them, a la ETFs. Can you just speak to this moment here?
It's an unbelievable example. And for reference, before I joined Bitwise, I was the CEO of ETF.com. So I've lived and breathed this ETF revolution. But I love that you bring up the gold example. You know, we talk about gold today as this well-established institutional asset that struts around Wall Street with a three-piece suit on and a top hat. But the reality is, back before there was an ETF, that wasn't true. It was mostly held by retail investors. People were called gold bugs and they were diminished. People didn't think of it in an institutional setting. And the reason is pretty obvious, and it'll sound familiar. If you're a large institution that's used to buying stocks and bonds, it's a whole different thing to hold physical gold bars and worry about custody. It's a whole different market to access. You don't trade them on the New York Stock Exchange. You don't custody them in the same way. They literally don't show up in your portfolio reporting software, so you can't figure out what your returns are. Once the ETFs came into the market, there was an explosion of institutional interest in gold as a portfolio asset. We saw $3 billion in inflows in year one, 5 billion, 7 billion, 10 billion, 18 billion. Today, you know, maybe $100 billion. And that has an echo effect in how the institutions think about gold. It's made it. Again, it's accepted. Okay, the same thing is happening in crypto. Before the ETFs launched, yes, it was possible for people to invest in crypto, for traditional investors to invest in crypto, but by and large, they didn't, because it was too hard, because they didn't trade Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP in the same way they traded Apple and Nvidia and Microsoft. And what we've seen since the ETF launch is an exact repeat, except magnified about 10 times, right? We've seen $30 billion flow into these Bitcoin ETFs. They've been the most successful ETF launches of all time. We've seen pension plans allocate. We've seen university endowments allocate. We've seen hedge funds allocate. I'm telling you, Brad, we've seen this story before, and we know how it ends. I'll end with one statistic. When gold ETFs launched, they were about a $2 trillion asset class. Today, they're $20 trillion. When Bitcoin ETFs launched, again, about a $1.5 trillion asset class, we're at 3 or 4 trillion. We're on our way to 20 and 50 and beyond. So again, we have seen this story before. This is how institutional asset classes are born, and you're witnessing it before your eyes, and you still have a moment where you can front run the institutions.
And what a remarkable moment it is. And that's really the theme that I want people to understand here. And I also, to speak to your point about the ETFs and the size of them and that market that's there, this is so impressive to me, because I don't know if many people, because a lot of people are relatively new investors in the crypto space, and if they aren't, they may or may not know this, but the paper products traded on top of gold are just massively bigger than the gold being traded underneath of it all. And that's a remarkable moment. Can you speak to the power of these products and how it's tapping into this other side of traditional markets and investing? It opens the door to people to have this access to these assets, but at the same time, these financial advisors now can offer these products and get access to their clients. Just speak to that for a second, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at a surface level, this is where most of the money is. Right? The incredible thing about crypto is 95% of all crypto assets that will ever exist are probably already owned by someone, and 95% of the money has no exposure to it. Those are going to have to cross at some point. I mean, these are very big markets. You're talking about financial advisors controlling 10 to 30 trillion dollars of wealth. You're talking about institutions having the same exposure. You're talking about 401k platforms that are another $8 trillion. If all of those people start allocating 1 to 5% to crypto, you're talking about hundreds of billions and indeed trillions of dollars of inflows into this asset class. And I'll leave it to your imagination about what that means in terms of price, right? But look, if we think crypto is the foundation of a new financial rail, it has to interact with most of the financial market. That's what you're seeing start to happen now. but it's a multi-year story. With the down payment we've seen in 2024 is just that. It's just a down payment. It's just a holding mark. You're going to see that amplified in 25, in 26, in 27.
I think that's such a remarkable point. Now, I know everybody's like, can you ask him about the XRP ETF filing already? So, Matt, tell us what's going on with that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have restrictions around what we can say. So I can confirm that we have an XRP filing. I can confirm that Bitwise doesn't file products for fun. We only file products when we think there's a reasonable chance of them launching because it's expensive to do. And so we're optimistic on this space. If you step back and look at this at 30,000 feet, I think you'll see the big picture. A lot of people get lost in the weeds of this, but here's the big picture. We've gone from no ETFs to ETFs on Bitcoin and Ethereum. XRP is obviously the third largest crypto asset, so it's the obvious next one to focus on. We're moving from an SEC that is hostile to crypto to one that understands what crypto is about and is pro-innovation. When you put those two things together, I obviously can't guarantee anything about our application or anyone's application, but I can say that the trends point towards more ETFs in the future. And I will note, we already have XRP ETFs in Europe, and they're very successful, right? And there is significant demand. So I'm confident long-term, without speaking to our application, that we will get XRP ETFs here in the US. And I'm also confident that there'll be a big market for them.
And I think so too. And let's talk about this, because I think there's a special set of facts that go along with something like an XRP ETF, because there's other assets out here that have utility broadly, right? And they're waiting for legislative clarity to complement the financial system and to work within the financial system, and in large cases be held and used every day by the financial system. Now, I have a significant position in Bitcoin, so just for the people in the audience so they know, this is not maxi talk. But what I want to focus on here is that with XRP, what I see is a special moment coming for it, because as the ETFs become approved here in the States, obviously you'll be holding it at a qualified custodian, one-to-one or a surplus. We all know how that works. But at the same time that we get legislative clarity, we're going to have a demand for actual utility of this asset inside the financial system. And just jumping ahead to having that, right, in our minds, and knowing that, okay, that's there, let's say the middle of next year, 25, let's say, and all great things are going our way. We got legislation, banks, everybody can use it. So now we have market makers, market participants, speculators, right? And then these paper products like ETFs being traded on top of it. Now I see a potential for upward pressure on the asset and the demand to be in these ETFs, because the ETFs have to qualify custodian whatever they're holding, and then you have the demand for the market makers that are making markets for market participants every day, and then the speculators buying and selling it. Again, going back to the opening of our conversation here, it's the birth of a new asset class, and I'm like super geeked out over it, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, right? You can think of ETFs as opening up to the market to people who will consider XRP by a factor of like 10 or 20. And just like not every crypto investor ends up investing in XRP, many do, but not everyone. Not all of these investors will end up focusing on it either. But when you widen the aperture and when you start telling the story of what's going on in a blockchain like XRP and the related ecosystem, you will find people who want to gain exposure to it, who are excited about the idea of what could happen when the regulatory pressure is off of this public blockchain and we get to see what it does in the wild and see what that business demand is. So that's what's going to happen if we do get successfully to be able to launch these ETFs.
Okay, so one more thing before we leave, Matt, and I happen to be the founder, along with my wife, of XRP Las Vegas, and we'd love to have you there. I don't know if you're free, but and I don't mean to put you on spot on camera here, but if you could just tell us if you're able to come or not, or if you'd like to, we'd love to have you.
I love it. Thank you so much for the invitation. I've heard wonderful things about the event. This is an important community to us. So I'm going to be working on my calendar behind the scenes. I think there's a good chance that I'll see you out in Las Vegas.
Oh, that would be so amazing. And I know that my audience is absolutely losing their mind right now, Matt. They would love to hear you speak directly on stage and to get a chance to meet you personally. So, and I'd love that for myself too, selfishly. So, Matt from Bitwise, thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait to have you back again. All right, now let's take a look at this. Let's see what Dark Defender's saying about the charts here right now. And by the way, you're going to want to see my second video. I do a breakdown of Egg Red Crypto's post. You're going to want every bit of it. Shout out to Dark Defender too. He says, hi all, we gave XRP 24 hours on December 11th, almost 40 hours since then. Well, XRP will decide where to go max by tomorrow. There's no room left on the current bull flag, as you can see how tight it is. He says here, resistance levels are 242, 252, 272, and 585, and support levels 229, 224, 210, and 202. So we'll keep an eye on those, and I know you will too. But I want to give a big shout out to Matt Hougan from Bitwise. What a great conversation that was, and I hope we get to see him at XRP Las Vegas. Stay tuned for more. Not financial advice from me, him, or anyone else. Just our digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.